Greetings and welcome to the Transform Podcast. This is your host, Christopher Anastasio. This is episode 26 of the podcast, and today is Tuesday, January 11th, 2022. And welcome back, guys. You probably can hear it in my voice, but since about mid last week, came down positive with COVID-19. So you can kind of hear the congestion in my voice, and I apologize for that. But we don't stop for anything here at Transform, so we're going to keep pushing ahead with recording episodes and staying on schedule with that. So definitely really appreciate you guys getting the chance to check in with us and listen to this next episode. So with that out of the way, guys, this episode actually doesn't have one single topic that I want to talk about. It's more of a roundup of a few different items that I wanted to kind of just highlight for you guys. There's three in particular, and we'll just kind of round robin them, and then maybe spin them off into episodes in the future. But this is more of an overview type summary episode, kind of catch you guys up on a couple things that may be of interest to you, maybe something that affects your business, or you could incorporate into your digital marketing strategies and so forth. So, item number one actually is a leftover kind of cleanup item from the episode that we published at the end of last week when I was talking about Testimonial Tactics in episode 25. So actually during that episode, excuse me, I was mentioning various ways that you guys can use testimonials and can employ sort of generic tactics no matter what approach you end up taking to sort of organically generate and post believable, authentic testimonials. Now, at one point during that episode, I said to you guys that while the episode wasn't focused on software or specific tools, that I was going to mention a tool that I was familiar with, that I'd done some research into, but then I failed to mention it. So what I wanted to do is start this podcast with one of the three items was to kind of clean that omission up. And the tool that I was referring to, guys, is a software platform called Boast, B-O-A-S-T. And Boast, it's really, to be totally frank with you guys, it's the only testimonial software tool that I've ever looked at, and I can't say I've used it directly. I've simply researched its capability so that I'd be sort of in a position to recommend it if it was relevant to a client, and so I'm reasonably familiar with its parameters and its capabilities. And so basically, in the episode 25, I was talking about the most important thing was to capture testimonials that had a raw, sort of believable, authentic feeling and texture to them, and help your client or your testimonial person help them along in their testimonial by giving them sort of some questions to follow and some parameters to stay within, so that they kind of give you a nicely flowing, logical testimonial, and they're more willing to do it because you're helping them accomplish the testimonial by saying, hey, can you just answer these 3 or 4 questions, and boom, you've essentially created a testimonial for me. So that was really the crux of episode 25 and the whole idea behind how do you get good testimonials. But the reason I'm bringing up Boast is because Boast automates a lot of what I was talking about. So Boast actually, and it's been a little while since I dug deeply into it, but to my recollection, what you would do with that program is you would connect to the person you wanted a testimonial from and solicit the testimonial. And as that person went to make the testimonial, they would sort of be led through the process I described in the last episode, but in an automated fashion. So they would literally be sort of, filling out or being prompted for certain inputs that then create the testimonial. And if I recall correctly, you can actually have them textually provide that information and or provide it in video format as well. So they're kind of, it's sort of like a step-by-step system that guides the person through the testimonial, and by the time they're all done, it spits out this result that you're looking for, and essentially the one I described last episode. So it's just, I think it's a way to accomplish a few different things. You know, it automates the process we talked about. It renders it in a very visually appealing fashion. It then, you know, plugs into, let's say, your website, and it sort of renders all the testimonials on the website in a very clean, you know, very visually appealing kind of fashion. So it's really, it's just got a lot of advantage to it in terms of simplifying things for you and simplifying things for the person you're approaching for the testimonial. So that's really the essence of it. And I didn't, like I said, I don't want to get too much into it because I don't want to endorse the product per se. It's really the only one that I've ever looked at that does these things. I'm sure there are others out there. I would simply encourage you, if you say, okay, Chris, you know, I believe in testimonials and I want testimonials and I like the approach you described, but I definitely want to do it through a piece of software, and I want it to be as automated as it can be, and I want it to look as pretty as it can be in terms of the packaging, not necessarily talking about the testimonial itself, because we want that to be, you know, genuinely raw and authentic. But in an overarching sense, if you want your testimonials to be sort of presented in the nicest possible way, then some of these software tools out there, like Boast, I'm sure, are going to help you accomplish that. So it's just something to look at and to consider as you guys professionalize the way that you gather and record and render testimonials. Okay? So again, check that out if you get a chance, guys. Boast, B-O-A-S-T. Again, no endorsement from Transform or myself. I mean, no affiliation. It's just the one that I personally have looked at before. And you can, you know, I mean, it's probably best to start with some generic search, like, you know, testimonial capturing software, or, you know, something like that. And I'm sure Boast will probably be one of the things that comes up there. Okay, so that was item one, guys. Just kind of want to close that out with you. The second thing I wanted to do, as we sort of round up current events or news in the social media, digital marketing world, was an interesting article I came across on Facebook and their new quote-unquote privacy center. So you say, oh, okay, Chris, yeah, why are you bringing that up? Why is that important? Well, you know, it may or may not be important to you. Let me be frank about that. So way back, one of the very early episodes we did here on the podcast was about the role Facebook can play in your business. And the fact that for many businesses, again, not to prescribe anything to you, but for many businesses, Facebook is actually going to be your anchor social media platform. You know, maybe LinkedIn is also right up there with it. But when we look at like the major platform that sort of everything sort of comes off of from a hub and spoke perspective, Facebook is likely to at least be the candidate for doing that for your business, because it's simply got so many users on it. It's so many active users engaging on that platform. It's been around the longest, and, you know, when you start to compare it to the other ones, and it just has so many different things you can accomplish with it. And it's surviving challenge after challenge as the years have gone by. It's just enough to presume that it's going to retain some degree of relevance, you know, in perpetuity. Okay, which is probably a little bit of a dangerous statement, but it's sort of lasted this long, I guess, is kind of what I'm saying with that. Okay, so, you know, what I would do first, guys, if you have a chance, is go check out that earlier episode. I forget which one it was. It was probably the first handful or so. And listen to that, and listen, you know, hey, should I be using Facebook for my business if I'm not already doing so? You know, what are some of the advantages to using it? What are some of the tools on there I can take advantage of? It's extremely robust in terms of being able to post content, run ads, connect with people through the Messenger platform, you know, use the stories aspect that's on there. There's just so much you can do with it. So the reason that I'm talking about this news about the Privacy Center is simply because if you're following news in general, even if you're not that into social media and digital marketing news, you know Facebook has been in the news because of a lot of the stuff that's been happening with Instagram and its algorithm and, you know, sort of warping young people's minds and things of that nature. I mean, definitely not looking to make this podcast or this episode a commentary on that, but we have to be aware of it. We have to understand when we employ these platforms, when we use these tools for our business, that, you know, they're a company there's a company behind that platform, and that company hopefully is making good decisions and is acting, as morally and ethically as we would hope it would, or it becomes vulnerable. It can become vulnerable to various issues, whether they be government oriented, kind of coming after them, whether it be the user leaving the platform and being sort of disgusted with it, whatever the case might be. We have to kind of understand that, when we rely on a platform, we are relying on that platform to stay, available to us, or, it can kind of, the rug can get pulled out from under us, and all of a sudden everything we've done on that platform or accomplished kind of goes away. Hence why we encourage you guys to be in sort of an omni-channel kind of mindset, but within that omni-channel mindset, that you look for opportunities to master particular platforms that are, let's say, most appropriate to what your business does. So because of all that, because of the importance of all that, yes, in some way we have to keep our finger on the pulse for news as far as how are these platforms thriving or not thriving, are they under threat, are they not under threat. We just need to understand that. It's kind of like the cost of doing business with these kinds of tools and in this marketing sort of sphere that we're involved in. So the significance of this to me, and this is my personal opinion, is that and I call it Facebook, it's really Meta is now the company name, as it's trying to provide more transparency into how it uses data and how it affects people's privacy, the fact that it is making tools like this Privacy Center more available and more accessible is kind of a big deal, I think, in terms of retaining users on the platform, keeping people interested and engaged and not looking for reasons to leave and say, hey, I'm done with Meta, I'm done with Facebook, too much bad press, too many bad things going on with my data, et cetera, et cetera. And so basically there's 5 elements that Meta has included for Facebook desktop users that you can sort of control to some degree. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of tick those off real quick, guys, almost quoting here from this article, but which, by the way, appeared in Social Media Today. I think I've referenced Social Media Today before. It's a great, great resource. I use it heavily. I rely on it very heavily just to stay abreast of what's going on in the industry. If you guys are up for doing this stuff on your own, you're not really looking for help from the outside, this is one of the resources I would point you towards to keep your fluency and keep yourself kind of engaged in what's going on in this community. So the 5 elements are, number 1, security. So you can control account security, like 2-factor authentication. You can get more information about how Meta, defends against data scraping and things of that nature. Okay, so there's a whole resource there behind security. There's a sharing guide. You can answer questions about, who sees what you're posting, what you can do with old posts. Okay, if you need to clean up old posts on your feed, there's a function in there to manage that. The third item is collection. You can learn about what Meta is actually collecting from you, and how you can actually see what that data is. So you have visibility into that. That's very important, I think, to a lot of users. The fourth item is use. So you can actually learn about why Meta uses your data, like what controls they offer, and how you can manage the way the information is being used and things of that nature. So that's pretty important. And then lastly, ads, which I think is, probably the one that's got maybe the most attention from like a tracking perspective. Like, how does this thing know that I want to buy a new sofa? You know what I mean? Like, why am I being followed around by these ads? So you can actually learn more about how your info is used in the ad process and how you can exert some control over that. So I just kind of want to point this out to you guys. If you're a Facebook user, if you're considering using Facebook, if you're hesitant to use Facebook because of all the bad press, this is an interesting development, because in a marketplace, companies need to react to what the user wants, and they need to understand that there's shifting priorities and shifting needs and things of that nature. And this is a shift. I mean, Facebook has been a staple among social media platforms since the mid-2000s, 15 plus years now. And it's over time has grown less savory to the people on that platform. And to avoid having individuals leave the platform for good, Meta needs to make adjustments, and they need to understand where public perception is. And so I think what you're seeing with these security and sharing controls and so forth is definitely headed in that direction, is definitely geared towards that. Okay, so that's kind of a big deal, guys. Definitely encourage you to check that out, take a look at that, learn more about that if you presently or may end up using Facebook in any sort of capacity. Okay, and then the third item I just want to touch on with you guys today before we wrap things up is some news about TikTok. Now, several episodes ago, we spent a whole episode just exploring the possibility of whether TikTok could be right for your business. A lot of you guys on the podcast here listening, it may not be applicable. There's a very young audience on TikTok. I think over 50% plus are under 25 years old, something like that. I'm kind of pulling that off the top of my head, but the point is, it's a fairly young audience. That doesn't mean that the other half of the people on TikTok, though, who are an older audience, may fall into your demographic, or depending on what you're selling, younger audiences may be exactly what you're looking for. So I don't mean to prescribe one way or the other whether TikTok is right for you or not. It's more for us to explore why it might be right or how it might be right for different small businesses and different situations. So that being said, some really interesting news that popped up over the weekend, actually, with regard to TikTok. And I think, before I even tell you what that news is, the interesting thing about this is simply how innovative TikTok is proving to be, which I think alone, that characteristic alone, should be problematic for other platforms that are competing with it, specifically Instagram with its Reels function, YouTube with its Shorts function. They have to be a little nervous. I mean, TikTok is finding new and impressive ways to build its platform out, to draw users onto its platform and then keep them there. And so this particular bit of news that jumped out at me is the fact that TikTok is testing a new option to invite connections from your other applications to come over and view your TikTok clips, and in so doing, open an account. So basically what happens is, let's say you create a TikTok video and you've uploaded that video, or you've teed that video up. You can then literally click a button where it says, where then you have a prompt that comes on the screen that says, invite people to watch this video and connect on TikTok. And in the image supplied here, it shows, you can copy the link, you can send it out in an SMS text message, Facebook Messenger, Facebook platform itself, like in the feed, Twitter, WhatsApp, etc. So, and again, this is not available to everybody yet. This is being tested out right now with some users. So not everybody's actually going to have a chance to use this yet. But it's really interesting because when the recipient in the other app taps on the link to view this video, they automatically follow your TikTok account. Okay, so let's say they have a TikTok account, right? But you want to reach them over on another platform, or you're connected with them somewhere else, but maybe not on TikTok, or maybe you're not sure you're connected with them. Just being able to reach out across those other platforms and then have them say, "Oh, I didn't know Chris was on TikTok. Let me pop over there, watch this link, and then boom, now I'm automatically following him." So as long as we both have accounts, and we've made the linkage off the platform, that person clicking through to my video and coming back over to TikTok now automatically follows me. So it helps me grow my account faster that way, right? Than having to sort of search out, like, hey, is so-and-so on TikTok? Let me send them the video there. If I know I'm connected with them somewhere else, I can just make that connection there. I mean, I can do it even off social media platforms. I mean, I can do it by copying a link and dropping that link in an email or in a text message or something of that nature. So very, very powerful strategy there that you can employ. Now, if the person doesn't have TikTok and you've sent the video over to them, they can come through, perhaps be incentivized then to create an account so that they can view your video. Okay, so super, super impressive little innovation here. Not very complicated. I mean, not much to describe. I mean, that's kind of the gist of it for you guys. But this is really, really interesting at a very macro level to see this kind of innovation, to see this kind of aggressive push by TikTok to build its user base and to draw people over from other platforms and other sources onto their platform and create an engaged user out of them. Okay, once they discover that, let's say that your content is appealing to them, or they enjoy following you, now all of a sudden they're potentially spending more time on TikTok, looking at your content, looking at who you follow and who your content interests are, and so on and so forth. So right now it's not really clear how many people have this function. We just know that it's out there. So if you do have a TikTok account, you may want to check it out and see if this is a possibility and if it's available to you. So I'd encourage you to do that. They've explored, in terms of the news I've read on this, they've explored the downside to this, which I kind of tend to agree with. I mean, there is a potential here to spam people with TikTok links and, trying to, up your follower count and stuff like that. But basically, the fact that you can only do this one at a time, you can't blast this out to 10,000 people at a time, I think will help control that and help kind of throttle that sort of after effect. So, all that being said, guys, we're going to probably, out of all the 3 topics I talked about today, you're probably going to hear a lot of content in the future about TikTok. I've personally been spending more time on the platform, and it's as advertised in terms of its organic reach capabilities. The fact that really anybody can move up the feed and go viral on that platform. I mean, that's, the prominent individuals I follow on TikTok, their videos, I have to go hunt for their videos sometimes because just normal people's videos are coming up in the feed before I even get to, the quote-unquote celebrities and gurus and so forth. So it's a very, very interesting platform there, which we'll definitely spend more time with that. Okay, guys, so what we're going to do is I'm going to give my voice a rest now. Hopefully this episode brought you some value, just kind of rounding up some interesting news bits and so forth for you guys. We will be back later this week with episode 27. Look for that. Hopefully by Thursday we'll have that up for you, and we'll keep the conversation going. So thanks again, guys. Hope 2022 is off to a great start for you. Hope everything's going well for your business to begin the new year. Lots going on, lots of stuff for us to talk about as we explore quarter 1 here in 2022. Check us out on Facebook. Check us out on LinkedIn, Transform.com on the website. Obviously, would love for you guys to like the podcast, follow the podcast, subscribe to it, share it with friends, colleagues, family members. Super appreciate that. But once again, this is Chris Anastasio, episode 26 of the Transform podcast. Going to go ahead and sign off now. And we'll be back talking to you guys later in the week. Thanks so much. Have a great day. Bye-bye.